one of your obvious superpowers is slopers, and that's probably my main weakness. And so I'm curious, what advice do you have, whether it's training or climbing or some mindset thing to focus on to try to find not only the stoke in slopers, but also to be able to get stronger on them?
Okay, this is a big one. Slopers are so complex. I mean, I don't know if you've seen me on the Beastmaker 45 slopers.
Oh, yeah. It's heinous. I mean, paddling between the 45, which, by the way, I can't even stand with my feet on the ground and, like, put my hands on those things without them sliding off. Yeah. I can barely hold on to the center one, which is, I don't even know what the angle is on that, but I can, I can hang from that one, but I can't even touch the 45s.
So what I'll say about slopers is they're kind of like the patience hold, you could say, because they're inconsistent. I mean, a flat 20mm edge is going to feel basically the same every single time you pull on it. Mm-hmm. But a sloper requires like so many minor muscles to be tensed. It requires good friction. It requires like just body awareness, so many parameters into them. And I believe in a video I called it the full body hold, and I stand by that today, that it really acts as this hold type that you have to like think about everything in your chain to be able to hold on to. And so what happens when you try to hang on the Beastmaker slopers is usually like you're just not properly engaged everywhere, and then you just slide off. Like there's no way. There right. is, of course, the massive component of friction, and I definitely, that's the point with the Beastmaker slopers, is that it kind of matters which one you're on, and it matters how your skin is. I have sweaty skin. That's an advantage on it. People with dry skin can't even touch it. They usually have an advantage somewhere else, and that's always how climbing is. You have like pros and cons with everything in your genetic predisposition. But with slopers, there are a lot of things you can work on. It's just that they become a bit frustrating because it's so hard to dissect exactly what that is. For you, it could be like this minor muscle around your scapula that's not properly engaged, and it's just making this whole chain like slide down a little bit, and suddenly you're off. I mean, but the thing with the Beastmaker slopers, and why I think they might have some value, or that type of really, really slippy slope, like that hole that you're just sliding off of, is that if you put enough time into it, it's very common that you can just figure it out if you just like try and hang on it for a lot of time. And I usually, when I do those tricks on it, I mean, it's like an hour of recruitment before my body's like properly warmed up everywhere, before I can do anything that's insane on it. Usually, if I just hop on one of those slopers and try and hang, it's like, okay, so I definitely have an easier time than most, but I can not do a one-arm pull-up on any Beastmaker sloper that I just hop on. There's for sure a massive preparation that I need for it. And that goes for any sloper, is the thing. It's just that it's very, very clear on the Beastmaker ones and like wooden slopers. But when we're going outdoors, it's the same thing there. There's so many details that you have to work through to be able to hold them well. And I focus on those details a lot when I'm climbing on slopier boulders. And so I can kind of work through it and in the end figure it out. But with the crimpy boulders, it is more basic in a way. Like either you have the finger strength or you don't, if it's just a flat edge.
Right.
There are so many components to the climbing in it as well that you can address. But the actual hold is just strength. It's very isolated in that way. There are some components where it comes to the shoulder and the back as well on half crimps, for instance. But basically, it's going to be, are you strong enough or not?
Right.
And with the slopers, I think there's more to work through.
All right, y'all, just a quick 30 seconds here to tell you about today's sponsor, which is Frictitious Climbing. Y'all, check out this thing that they invented here. This is so rad. It's a doorway mount for your hangboard. No screwing, no drilling, no punching holes in your walls. If you travel a lot, this thing's amazing. You can put any hangboard you own onto this thing, or you can score one of their rad hangboards for 20% off, hitting that link below. It can come pre-mounted like mine did. So I popped it out of the box, I mounted it on the doorway, no mess, no fuss, and boom, you're hanging your tendons in minutes. I love this thing.
I really like that, man. I've just that 2 minutes right there has given me just a new appreciation and respect for slopers. I mean, honestly, I would just kind of write them off and just be like, well, I don't have strong enough flexion or whatever. But calling it the full body hold, I think, is just a wonderful way to think about that. Because again, immediately mentally, you're thinking about, what am I engaging? What am I not engaging right now that I should be? You know, you're thinking about just like what's happening from your elbow to your fingertips. But no, it's positioning, and it's the shoulders, it's the body, it's everything you're putting into it. Yeah, man, I really like that. Thank you. All right, I'm going to give it a shot. I'll let you know if I can ever get a millisecond on the Beastmaker 45. I'll take a video and I'll tag you in it.
To be fair with those, you will need like a little bit of sweaty fingers as well, just as an added tip for that one.
Or just like the crack gloves, but like with a little bit of sandpaper on them, you know?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Cool trick. Flip the crack gloves around.
I'm curious now, kind of a little bit on this line of training, finger strength and strengths in general. Mr. Sloper Daddy, what's your weakness, right? So that's your strength, that's your superpower. What's your weakness?
Well, if you look at physical aspects, I would say it's like very, very small edges. I can struggle quite a bit on. It does depend a little bit on the terrain and the rock type and everything, but it just doesn't work for me, whatsoever. I have pretty sweaty skin, and as soon as I try and dig into a small crimp, I just rip everything off. So I'm never really able to consistently train it. I've tried a few times, and every time it's like I have one session and then I have to quit climbing for a week because it's just all gone. I don't think it's impossible for me to train it up, though. It's just kind of a tricky route. So that's been one of my biggest weaknesses when it comes to those finger strength related stuff.
So Burden of Dreams may not be on your list of problems.
Well, I tried the replica.
That's right.
And I was absolutely smacked. Like, it was a bit surprising, to be honest, how bad I was on it. I mean, of course, it's a V17. I didn't expect to do any wonders on it, but I essentially, I struggled. There's a move that people consider like V7, which last time I didn't flash a V7 I tried outdoors was a pretty long time ago.
Right.
This move took me, half the session essentially to get done. Just that one move that's considered V7, and the rest of the moves we don't even have to talk about because I was so far away from it.
It looked a stopper hard when you brought it vertical. I was like, even vert, I don't think I could do this thing.
I'm sure you could, actually. I'm sure you could.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So it's not only is it obviously grabbing super small, micro crimps and these kinds of things are very hard, especially on steep terrain where you need this incredible body tension and all of this. I had Matt Fultz on the show recently. It's something that he excels at quite a bit, and it's just wild to see how he can bear down on these micro edges. But also it sounds like it's a bit of a skin limiter for you. And what are you doing for that, to address that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't want to put it purely on my skin, because it's more like if I put the time into it, I would probably get strong at it. It's just like the skin makes me not put in the time for it.
Right.
So the skin is for sure a limiting factor, but it's not like the limiting factor. My effort is the limiting factor. I kind of want that to be clear, because it does matter.
Right.
But what I'll say is...
By the way, good for you, because I love my bag of excuses. I love to be able to say, like, oh, my skin's not good for this one. But so good for you for...
Well, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of excuses. I just try and keep them separate as much as possible.
Sure.
But what I'll say is I do have quite a few skin routines, though. Biggest one is anti-hydral, if you've heard about that.
Yeah.
That I just, I actually, what I do is I put tape along some of the what are these called? This part of the finger.
Crease?
Yeah, like the crease.
Bend?
Yeah, where they bend. So on the top ends of those, I put tape, and then I just smear it all over my hands, like on every single centimeter, and just cover them in antihydral.
And how many days do you do this before you want to perform? Because it's a timing with antihydral, right?
Yeah, 2 days before usually, 1 or 2 days before. It does happen pretty quickly for me that they dry out and work well. So it's not a lot of time for sure. No, usually one day is enough.